Welcome to Channel AMEC, your insight to the Australian visa system. Good day everyone, my name is Karl, your online YouTube visa consultant. Are you interested about migrating to Australia? Why don't you consider to subscribe to my channel and turn on the bell on the side so once we have all the updates and news, be the first one getting all the insight. Now, exciting, isn't it? Well, not quite for some people. Well, obviously, the last Thursday, the Minister of Home Affairs, Claire O'Neill, has announced the migration review report and also got on to the national press conference, talking about all the upcoming changes and how crappy the visa system has been for Australia, and is looking to hopefully an overhaul of the entire system. Now, obviously, there's one topic that has been picked on in regards to the raise of TSMIT, which is the temporary skill income threshold required to be raised from the current level of 53,900 up to 70,000. Well, isn't that great? Well, not quite. For a lot of people, they got really worried. Are you a visa holder of subclass 491 and looking to transfer to become a permanent resident under subclass 191? Now, would that be affected? Now, that's what I'm going to talk about in this video. So let's have a look on the media, and I'm going to take you to the actual web page of what subclass 191 requires, eligibility, and also going to the actual law. Then we will land it at the or obviously by the end of this video, I'll give you some of what I think will likely to be. All right, let's have a look. Now, first thing first, obviously a lot of people has been exciting in regards to the upcoming things and changes. I'm pretty welcome with this upcoming changes. Basically, it will lift the skill level of all the migrants. However, there are some migrants may not be beneficial after the changes. For example, if the occupation or job required is less than this amount of number, 70,000, the magic number, then probably won't be able to get the work visa. But obviously there's another category of low pay in visa, but that I believe that's going to be used for more regional and for agricultural or mining sector. Okay, let's have a look what it really says. It basically says temporary skill migration income threshold, and the short form is TSMIT, to be raised to 70,000. So that's for all the temporary working visa, for example subclass 482 predominantly, and also subclass 494. So and what this actually affect for the subclass 491, because it doesn't specifically telling that it will actually affect subclass 491 people, but we do know that the subclass 491 visa holder required to meet that threshold as well, but that threshold is not defined as the same as what they have defined it for the subclass 482 and 494. So what's gonna happen? We don't know. And let's go into a little bit of detail on the actual immigration website for the subclass 191, and you may find this page from immigration's website anyhow. So under the eligibility, let's examine what does it really say. It says on the satisfying on the income requirement. What does it say? The detail? Well, it doesn't say much. It says your taxable income must be at least minimum income threshold. So what is it? What's the number for the minimum income threshold? Okay, and your taxable income has to show on your Australian taxation office notice of assessment. So that means, you know, you don't take cash payments without paying taxes. Make sure you pay all the taxes, so you get that notice of assessment. You must have minimum income threshold for at least 3 income year. All right, so that's great. So, but what's the number? It doesn't spell out the actual number. Now, obviously, there has been instruments putting out by the former immigration saying it's got to be 53,900. However, I'm going to take you to that page. Let's go into the law and what it actually says. It's very, very complicated, so let's just bear with me. I will take you through it. It's boring, but that's where the answers will be. So under the subclass 191, let's have a look at its criteria and the regulation and the clauses here. So we are looking at the criteria under the regional provisional visa stream and the law. The chunk of law that we wanted to talk about today is under 191.222. All right, so what does it say? It says, okay, here we go. The applicant has provided a copy of the notice of assessment. Well, that's the same. So 3 relevant year. That's exactly what we have read on the web page. Number 2, the applicant taxable income for each of those relevant income year for at least equal to the amount of specified in an instrument under subclass 3. Well, why not just spell it out? It doesn't say so. Number 3 says the minister may, it may not. We're here by legislative instruments specifying an amount of purpose of subclass 2. That is right up there. I don't know why they would just putting into 2 sentences, and that's the problem with legal languages. Sometimes it's making very complicated. It's looping around. Why doesn't just merge the 2 points together? But anyway, so number 3 says basically the instrument relates to number 2. But what is it? It doesn't say as well. And where is the legislative instrument? It doesn't have it. Perhaps there's no link I can actually click or find it. I'm trying to find it for a whole couple of days. Just cannot find it. Okay. And for subclause 1 to satisfy that, obviously, so that's a notice of assessment. So that's exactly reflective of that. It's pretty simple understanding for 4 points. But again, it doesn't tell us what the actual number is. It does point out to be a legislative instrument. So let me find that out. I've tried a lot of way to find out. So I went into the actual the content page of the regulations. Now, do you see how complicated this is? Now, under the division 2.17, because that's where it relates to all the temporary work visas. Now, noticing here, it does tell us the criteria for approval or nomination for 457 or 482 and the 494. So you can see those one, although it's tiny, but anyway, it's just piece of law. There's a lot of things here, but there is no 491. Why is that? Because 491 does not require a nomination. It doesn't need a nominator. It's been nominated by the state, but it doesn't need a private nominator. So there's actually no law here. But anyway, let's go in there, have a look. Okay, so this is for 494. Okay, because 494 is kind of more relevant because 494 was legislated at the time and at the same time with 491, because 494 ultimately can actually transfer into 191 as well to become a permanent resident. So where does it say in regards to the payments? It's actually very bottom where it says, here we go, under the subclause or sub-regulation, should I say, 15, it says under the sub C, the annual market salary rate of the occupation needs to determine in accordance to the instrument made under sub-regulation 2.72 and 17. And what is it? So that's actually right here. It's basically pointing back to the required minimum threshold for 482, because regulations 2.72 that you see, that's a problem. The problem with legal language is just going looping and looping and looping, and sometimes, you know, for legal profession, your brain has to be, you know, just to manage that. But anyway, I'll take you through with this one. So reg 2.72 criteria approval nomination for subclass 457 and 482 under its sub-reg 17, as we have just read here. Okay, 17 right there. So let's scroll down to 17. It says the minister may, by legislative instruments, specify a method of determining the market salary rate for the occupation determined for the section 4140GB. Now there is an actual link that I can actually click on the legislative instrument, and that appears to be this one. Okay, now this has been done and amended, but it doesn't change what the amount, because the amount hasn't been changed for the past 10 years. Is basically just changing the subclass numbers, but we can scroll down right down here, and we can see that number right there, 53,900, the income threshold. Okay, now the problem here is it only directs us back to 494 and 482. What about 491? Although 491 does follow what 494 is, because once you get 494, in order for you to actually transfer into a permanent residency under subclass 191, it's the same. So we presume that will be the same. However, let's let me take you to this page. It's very interesting what it actually wording is, and it's actually on the immigration website as well. So what you want to do is you go to Google and search skill migration program, and let's scroll to September 2019. That's when the introduction of 491 and 494 took place. Okay, so as you can see, new skill regional visa, 491 and 494, and at right here, let me read this out to you. Okay, it says the minimum taxable income for subclass 494 and 491 will be set at the temporary skill migration income threshold, TSMIT, unless concessions are agreed, such as relation to DAMA. TSMIT is currently $53,900. Okay, so what does this mean? Well, what I can tell you is, obviously, there is gonna be a major change to the current 482 visa, because they are gonna introduce, they're gonna scrap the skill occupation list first, and they're gonna introduce 3 tiers. So one is a high pay and a 70,000 pay employments, and one is lower, and I believe that's going to be more suitable for the regional, for the agricultural and all the other type of work in regional area. Now that means the whole law, the whole legislation that we have just gone through for the past 10 minutes probably will be amended totally as well. So what that, and the key here is, it does, back in 2019, it does says it will be 53,900, because what we have identified for the 494 visas, income threshold has to match with 482, and 494 is relevantly same as 491 in order to transfer into the permanent residency. But it does say here, unless there's a concession to be agreed. Now obviously this refers to DAMA, but obviously you can have concession to be agreed for the purpose of regional skill migration as well, because the whole scheme is going to be changed anyhow. So what do I advise? What do I say here? Now I believe in order to assist the regional Australia to pull all these 491 visa applicants in order to meet 70,000, I think it's unlikely. It probably will have another threshold, probably not 53,900, probably, I don't know, 60,000, but it will be lower than 70,000, and that's where I think how the new legislation or policy will be. Because if the new temporary working visa is going to come out with 3 schemes, one with the high pay rate, and one with the 70,000, the medium rate, and one with the low rate. And low rate, we know that it's going to be focused on regional Australia. Now obviously 491 visa is a provisional regional skill visa, so that should focus at the same rate as the third tier of the working visa, which is going to come up, whether it's going to be 53,900 or I don't know, 57,000 perhaps, or 60,000, but it's going to be less than 70,000, and that is where I would predict it anyway. So should you have more question or query, more than welcome to leave a comment right down below, and I'll see you next video. Goodbye.